Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
Hold on to your lug nuts. It's time for an overhaul.
Turn it up, son.
I'm your huckleberry.
I don't give jobs, I hire men. You won't give me anything, and I won't give you anything.
Collision, sir.
Whoa, relax. We're not even moving.
There's no crying in baseball!
We are News New Mexico. We're statewide. I'm Michael Swickard. Bob Enlick's here. Jerry Harden is our producer-director. Yes, I was about to sneeze again. These guys have been on me because I have the sneezes today. Oh, well, you won't catch it because you're on the other side of the radio. We are talking with Marita Noon. Energy makes America great. Dot.
Tom, no, work.
You have the same problem I do too.
You tricked me.
No. Energy makes America great. Dot. And
I did that on purpose because by doing that we got to draw more attention.
Oh yeah,
to it.
Energy makes.
Yeah, dream on, right? It's
dream
early
on.
In the morning.
Yes, Marita Noon. We were just talking. We'll get to your column because Bob Enlick can't wait. But I want to do.
I know, since he's the famous one in it.
All right, so we were just talking about PNM is doing their retrofitting, and in reality, companies don't pay taxes, only individuals. And companies don't really pay expenses. Individuals end up, the shareholders or the users. So if they spend $800 million in the Four Corners area, and there's 1 million people that get their power from the PNM, I was just making the thought that I suspected each person, one way or the other, over the coming years, will pay $800 for the APA requiring this. You think extra? Do you think I'm wrong?
That's some good math. You've got a head for numbers. I do words.
All right, now, because he's standing up and he just can't wait for this, we got to talk about...
Let me go back to the PNM thing for just a moment,
just
to affirm, give it a little bit more airtime, because you're right. I mean, this is just one rule, one regulation in one state.
Yep.
And imagine that is being played out all over the country, not just with power plants, but with manufacturers, with every EPA touches virtually every aspect of our lives. And they're adding costs to everything. And before we go to Bob's column, I'm just talk for a minute, Michael. I'm going to find you an email I want to read you that I got yesterday that ties in right here, and maybe I'm stalling long enough that I can get my hands on it myself. But I just got this email that I'm about to read to you from a friend yesterday, and this particular friend is in New York. And this guy, I've never met him, but I know him through my work. He's commented on my work, and so we've kind of become friends. And he sent me an email yesterday, and shoot, I'm not coming up with it now. But the bottom line, in his email, he talked about his company. He owns a steel fabrication manufacturing kind of business in upstate New York, in Albany, New York. And he sent me an email that says that throughout the year they've managed to stay in the black by a certain amount of dollars, about $85,000. They've managed to kind of stay ahead throughout the year. Following Obama's election, this is not in the email, but I know this, they had 2 straight years of loss, and then they've managed to, they've cut employees, they've trimmed back, cut hours, blah, blah, blah. They've managed to somehow stay in the black for the last 2 years. However, their business has dropped so badly. He told me last night in a phone call that typically they have 10 requests a day for bids. In the last week, if they have had 1 request a day for a bid, it's amazing. And his email to me, the one I can't find, said that his controller called him in yesterday, the guy that owns the business that I'm talking to, and the controller said that they are looking at a $100,000 to $200,000 loss for the months of November and December, and that they are looking at making cuts starting today. Now, the relevance to the PNM thing is that is one company in one state in one field. The PNM, the EPA cuts is one, to the Four Corners power plant is, one state, one power plant. But you realize that these stories are going on all over the country. And it is a very scary situation. I'm normally an optimist, but this is not a cheerful piece of news.
Well, let me ask this question, because they keep talking about, we better do something, or we might go back in recession. In the world I've lived in the last 4 years, it doesn't feel like recession. It feels like we're already in a depression. They're just jiggling the numbers, because I think our unemployment numbers really are close to 20% unemployed. I don't think they are less than 8%. The number of businesses I know laying off people and stuff like that, I actually think we got about a 20%. I actually think we're in depression right now. They just don't have another name for something worse that may come when we fly over the cliff.
Yeah, well, it may not be a depression by the exact technical definition of it, but certainly you take Ronald Reagan's definition of it, and we're definitely in depression.
Yeah, in that sense.
One of the things you're talking about this these taxes that the EPA is essentially forcing us to pay through these rule changes affects an industry very close to where you are, Marita. Just east of you is that cement plant, and that's another one of the, it takes a lot of energy in order to turn limestone into a bag of cement.
It most certainly does. And every wind turbine requires hundreds or if not thousands, I don't recall the number, of tons of cement.
And so, that means that when those people are manufacturing their product, the price of cement is going to go up. That means the price of construction is going to go up.
Well,
the price of repairs is going to go up.
Price of cement, or it reaches that point where somebody says, forget it. Now, what we don't see in our society, especially in New Mexico, is the number of people who have stepped up to the plate, looked at the change of costs, and said, no thanks. Like your friend with the manufacturing, that, how many people have stepped up to his counter, looked at the uncertainty and the costs, and said, no thanks.
Well, like I said, he can give you a pretty direct number, because he said he generally gets 10 bid requests a day, and now he's getting one. This company's been in business for 90 years. They have a long history of what to expect.
I've been Alex here. I'm Michael Swickard. We're News New Mexico Statewide, talking to Marita Noon. EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org is the website. She has a column. You need to go to townhall.com. You can actually go through our portal at newsnm.com, where we have it posted, but go to townhall.com and vote that it's a great thing. I think it is. COP18. Talk about this, Marita.
Well, COP18 stands for Council of the Parties of, and it goes on and on. It's some long thing. Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. And they do this every year, and pretty much they've all been a failure. They come out with some kind of mamby-pamby paper that at the end that they can all stand for a photo op and have their picture taken and say, oh, look, we achieved something. But the countries argue and fight, and the rich countries disagree with the poor countries. But really what they're trying to do is a transfer of wealth, as I say in the title of the column, from the West to the rest. And this transfer of wealth is going to take place through a $100 billion per year green climate fund that the wealthier countries, basically the developed world, is going to pay to the developing world to fund mitigation and adaptation to climate change. And so that's what this week's column is about.
Well, here would be the question, which is the rich ones like, let's see, Greece, Italy, Spain, France, the United States. No,
and we're all doing so well. We're living large, right?
Not a one of us has got two nickels to rub together. We're all so deeply in debt.
We're all borrowing it from China.
Well, we're not borrowing it from China because they have a $6 trillion economy. And we're running $1.5 trillion ourselves, not counting all those other people. We are just conjuring the money. And therefore, it is a tax against everybody else holding a dollar when they print a dollar, because there's nothing behind the dollar. But here's the thing. They're going to redistribute wealth, but we're not giving them wealth. We're giving them hollow dollars. Those aren't real dollars. They're hollow dollars. If we give $100 billion to somebody, We're $1.5 trillion out of balance, and we're just printing the money. Only we don't print it. That would make some money because you'd use paper and ink and people. We're just changing the numbers.
One of the things...
And the thing is that it's really all for naught. Go ahead, Bob.
One of the things I like to ask people is, how much money is in the U.S. Treasury? And the answer is $16 trillion worth of IOUs. There's no money in the Treasury.
There's no
There's no treasure in the Treasury.
Well, how much money is in the Social Security lockbox? There's about $120 trillion of IOUs. There's no money other than this year. During the year, the money flows through the lockbox, but flows out. All of the money put into Social Security is out. Okay, so they have this conference. They're going to deal with global warming. Marita Noon, global warming, scam or not scam?
Scam. Well, I mean, there may be actual global warming. Not in fact, maybe there is climate change.
Okay.
And certainly we can address that. Bob can help with that. But we all know that the climate throughout the ages most certainly does change. So when you say global warming scam or not scam, you have to be really careful. I
don't have to be careful. Man-made global warming is a scam because nobody wants to research it. Man-made global warming. When you say to them, let's do some more research, say, oh, no, it's already been researched. In America, we don't research things twice. We only research them once, and therefore we're not going to research it. That's a scam, my friends, a scam.
All right, I confess. I did it, you hear? And I'm glad. Glad, I tell you.
Note from Al Gore. He did it. He created the scam called global warming. Now, again, we're talking with Marita Noon, EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. We're not saying that there isn't climate change. We're saying two things, at least I am. Number one, that it's a scam to that the way you deal with global warming is give money to governments. That's a scam. And number two, that man has changed the temperature on the planet. Because Bob Enlick had asked one question, which is, what's the perfect weather for the Earth? And it presumes that whatever it was last year was the perfect weather for the Earth.
It's sort of stunning. One of the things that Marita and I know is that this is the 18th this COP meeting, and for 16 of the 18 years, the temperature's either stayed the same or it has decreased.
Well, that means it's global warming.
So if there is a carbon dioxide effect, it is very, very small and certainly nothing to worry about. And certainly there's no reason to send your money to...
$100 billion. That's chump change. Marita, we could do that every day of the week, couldn't we? $100 billion.
Dream on. You know, but the interesting thing, because I know we're going to run out of time, I got to make sure Bob gets his due credit here, because he helped me write this column. In the middle of the column is what I think is some of the most interesting, which is what the information that Bob gave me, provided me the links and the insight to find this, is the real taking apart some of their claims and looking at the data from government sources even of what is really happening out there. Bob, you want to address that quick? Because I know we're about out of time.
Well, one of the claims is that Superstorm Sandy was something unusual and it's evidence of climate change. But back in the 50s, even from 54 to 55, there were like 5 large hurricanes that hit the East Coast. So one happens every decade. They don't know their own history. The next thing is that they're talking about record-setting temperatures, but there was not a single new state temperature record that has been set anywhere in the country in all of the 21st century. All of the records date back to the 20th century and sometimes back to the 19th century, and the warmest was the 1930s, the Dust Bowl years. That's why this great drought of the Dust Bowl has gone down in history. You want to continue, Marita?
Well, yeah, one of the most interesting, and I messed this up on Town Hall, I have a typo on it, but, you're talking about the warmest temperatures were in the Dust Bowl. In Maine, their record-setting high temperatures were set in 1911, nothing to do with the Dust Bowl, and certainly long before the Industrial Revolution. And I found a lot of that data, and there's a link. Go to townhall.com, read the column. There's a link to the NOAA website where that data is found. But it's fascinating when you look at the real hard numbers. And then we also looked at what do you call it, Bob? That storm that hit Washington D.C.
It's called a derecho, and what it is, it's straight line winds. And during the heat wave at the end of June or the beginning of July, there was a long line of thunderstorms that went across the U.S. Some of it hit Washington D.C. and they said, "Bingo, that's proof of global warming." No, you get one of those about every 4 years, and sometimes in the Midwest in Missouri, you get one a year. So and that was first observed in 1877 and published on in 1888. And we have the Washington Post telling us that this sort of thunderstorm is unusual and representative of global warming. Nope, it happened back in the 1800s, and they published on it back then. Thank you very much, Marita.
My pleasure, Bob. Appreciate your help, and thanks, guys.
Marita Noon, Redistributing Wealth from the West to the Rest is her column. You can go to our website, newsnm.com, or go to townhall.com and read it.